Committee reports and board representatives. Capital improvement, chaired by Mr. Schleichauer.
Thank you, Mr. Lumia. Committee met this past Wednesday, August 4th. If you notice, there are two agenda items for discussion later for new business, 8.01 and 8.02, which pertain to small projects, which was leftover funds from our phase one. This is not any additional monies. This is just money that we were able to save due to bids coming in lower, and obviously contingency money that was not needed for those particular projects. So we reallocated, and that we can have some further discussion when that agenda item comes up. Also, the Myers Ground Committee finally put all that together, sent it over to the principal. That also was taken care of, and that also is an agenda item for discussion and approval for later. A couple other things. HVAC work continues throughout the summer. Also updated unit ventilators. Pretty much everything is on schedule. We also have some rooftop units that are being installed with exhaust fans. Thankfully, they've been delivered. We did have some issues with some copper availability, but I believe the vendors and the crew are going to be able to take care of that. With some good news, if everyone remembers from a prior meeting, we had an issue with the John Jay roof, which was damaged during a very bad storm. We had sent that out for bid, and then the particular vendor had informed us that due to circumstances beyond our control, we weren't able to get the material in time. Thankfully, he was able to change suppliers, same quality material, so that work will commence on August 12th, should be done by the end of the month, so should not have any impact when school reopens, so that shouldn't be a problem. A couple other just quick things on moving forward. I'm sorry, one other thing before that. We spent a lot of time in our prior phases discussing about upgrading our electric and solar. So I'm happy to say from our continued work on our energy performance project, both Vassar Road and Evans, pretty close to being done for our solar panels to be installed. R.C. Ketchum, if you notice, all the flags are up on the roof right now. Those panels are also being installed. Van Wyck as well. A little bit behind schedule, with Brinkelhoff and possibly Gayhead due to, again, material issue. But Amoresco should have the project pretty much completed and where we need it to be by the time school starts. Also to keep in mind, if the community is not aware, every 5 years we have to do a building condition survey, which is required by the State Education Department. So the committee moving forward, since we're pretty much at the end of working on our final projects, we're going to be reviewing the next building condition survey to address moving forward capital projects, both internal and aesthetic outside, what we need to address, and then go to the community for approval. That's pretty much it for capital, and if you want, I'll just
for legislative action, Chair by Mr. Schleichauer.
I'll roll right into that. We had our first meeting, and again, we do have an agenda item tonight to approve the charter, and adding 3 additional topics to our one topic that was approved over the summer for board approval to begin research, gathering information, to put our report together on a potential draft a letter for the board to approve, and obviously send out to our local politicians as well as Albany. Thank you.
Next is Ms. Killen, New York State School Board Association Summer Law Conference.
Yes. Okay. I attended the New York State School Boards Association 2021 Summer Law Conference. It was a live, virtual, 2-half-day event in July 22nd and 23rd. By doing it virtually, the district saved money, and since it was basically lectures by lawyers, it was done, and we could submit questions. It was really as good as going in person. Some conferences are better in person. This one seemed to be just as good virtually. The topics they discussed were first, helping students to transition back into an in-person school environment. One of the speakers was the project director of the Mental Health Association of New York State. And she shared with us that although medical insurance claims for 13 to 18-year-olds were only half as many in 2020 as they were in 2019, the 2020 ones, the percentage for mental health, self-harm, and overdoses nearly doubled. Eating disorders also increased. And in a survey done on mental health, youth 11 to 17 reported more moderate to severe anxiety and depression symptoms than any other age group. So this is something that we all hope to be addressing in the school district this coming year. And I know Dr. Bonk and his staff are working at that to try to alleviate that situation. Then they discussed APPR and tenure decisions because of the panic and the shutdown and the state tests not being given as many as they usually do, and hybrid and remote learning. They made a number of modifications to the law in rating teachers and building administrators for 2021. The third session, the first day, was on new laws and regulations. And among those, there were many, many laws. I'm not going to bore you with telling you all of them. It's available on the web. There was paid leave for vaccination. There were new restrictions on locations of cannabis businesses near schools. And there's a revamped child abuse training that must be taken by all mandated reporters, which are school personnel, within 3 years. The second day, the special education update discussed they now allow virtual due process hearings if all parties involved are agreeable. And there's an extension of attendance for overage, that's 21 years or older, students whose learning was adversely affected by the shutdown and remote learning on a case-by-case basis. So this is, would really affect maybe one student to a school district or fewer. But, in some cases, they felt that that was only the fair thing to do. The next session was on collective bargaining. And I must say there was no real problem there from what we saw. All the unions in Wappingers were most cooperative during the pandemic and the shutdown, and there were lots of modifications made to the usual things with the mutual agreement of all our employees. So that was not an issue really in Wappingers. The law says that you clarified that we can ask an employee's vaccination status, but that information should not be shared because it's health information. And the final session was on court cases. There was quite a bit on the issue of student free speech off campus. And last week, we also had a law conference by the Mid-Hudson School Study Council and Jay Verona, who is the New York State School Boards Association attorney, and he clarified and explained all that very, very well. So I thought it was very valuable, and I'd like all the board members to know that because I went, the recordings of all the sessions and the printouts of materials are available to the entire school board and to the senior administrative staff. So anyone who would like more details on the board or the administration can look it up. Thank you.
Thank you, Peggy. I thank all the board members who attended. Jay Barona's, Ms. McFarland attended, Marie Johnson attended, and myself, and of course, a lot of administrators also attended. It was very, very informative. So thank you. 3.04, that's okay, done. And 4.01, Superintendent report. It's all yours, right?
Thank you, President Lumia. Good evening, members of the public, members of the Board of Education. In my report tonight, I'd like to highlight the tremendous work that has been done this summer. First of all, I would like to thank all of our staff for stepping up and participating in our summer school. We typically have summer school for approximately 250 students, grades 9 through 12. This year, our grade 9 through 12 summer school was 200 students. And due to the pandemic, the learning loss that had been incurred by our students due to the remote instruction and other interruptions in in-person learning, I am pleased to announce that we had 620 students in grades K-8 participate in enrichment activities over the course of the summer. That is something that we've never done here in Wappingers, but we indicated to the community that we wanted to place an emphasis on trying to determine where our students are and assess them, which will also provide them with the necessary instruction that they didn't get during the school year and will help us in planning for the fall. Summer school continues until next Thursday. At this point, we continue to follow the summer guidance from the CDC. I did send out a communication to the public last week when we were informed that the New York State Department of Health would not be issuing any guidance in regards to COVID protocols. We were also informed that the governor's office would also not be issuing any protocols. So the way things currently stand, we have been working in collaboration with the Dutchess County Department of Health, as well as waiting for additional information from the New York State Education Department. And I would anticipate that within the next week to 10 days, we will share with the community exactly where we are and how we see things proceeding as school starts within the next 30 days. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Bunk. 5.01, tax rate presentation. Mr. Crandall.
Good evening, everyone. Board of Education, thank you for allowing us the opportunity to present you with the 2021-2022 tax rate presentation. This is an annual event, and this is the gear up to the start of our tax collection, which will start in September. As always, we refer to our mission, we refer to the Board of Education and our senior staff. We're very glad and thankful for their support as we move through this process, and also to the community for the result of the vote in May for our tax levy that was approved as part of the general fund budget. So how do the tax rates work? School tax rates are broken down into three pieces. Assessments, which are the value of the real property, and that comes from the town's assessor. The equalization rates are percentages of full values and are set by the New York State Office of Real Property Taxes. They are finalized annually. And also tax levy, which is the amount that we can raise in taxes and what was approved as part of the general fund budget in May. Okay, the 21-22 school tax rates apply to the tax cap, which we have spoken about on multiple occasions, and it cannot exceed 2% or the CPI limit. And for 21-22, we were nowhere near the 2% limit with regard to the CPI level. We did have an exclusion in 21-22 for the capital tax levy, which is allowable. That's an actual add back to the calculation. WCSD also met all the requirements for STARV refunds through our participation with government efficiency plans. So that's available to all taxpayers who meet those qualifications. We have participated in quarterly superintendent and municipality meetings where we've met with local town officials and members of the Board of Education, as well as the senior staff administration, to discuss what the communities are looking like and what activities could impact the taxpayers. We also have all of our school budget and our tax documentation available for review on the website at any time. This is a slide that looks very familiar. It's what we used during our general fund roadshow. It basically shows what our tax levy was in comparison from 2020-2021 to the 21-22 school year, and also the approved budget. We are below the tax cap, within the tax cap, and maximizing our tax cap at this point in time. This is what our revenue breakdown looks like. Again, this is part of our presentation from the roadshow with regard to the budget. And our proposed budget, which was approved, is $256,403,547, and is supported by these revenue sources as shown on the screen. So school taxes are calculated, as we had indicated, using 3 different factors. So the first, assessments, that is the real value of property, including any exempt properties. We also include clergy and firefighter exemptions in 21-22. There is a tax grievance day in May where taxpayers can take their bill, take their assessed values for their properties, and have discussions with the local municipalities about that. And we receive our final assessments from the assessors the end of July, beginning of August. School taxes are calculated by taking those assessed values and the equalization rates, which are set by New York State. The equalization rates are used to create uniform assessments. So what the goal is to have market value equals selling price. Now, we're in a really crazy time right now with regard to house values and selling points in the Dutchess County area, for example, and it was really interesting to see how the fluctuation went with those equalization rates in the 21-22 school year. There were minimal changes in both Dutchess and Putnam counties. LaGrange's rate did drop even more, which was a little bit surprising with regard to their equalization rate. But the main, the larger towns, East Fishkill, Poughkeepsie, and Wappingers, all went back up to 100%, whereas last year they were at 98 and 99. Again, this is all set through New York State Office of Real Property Taxes. This is not something that the district has any say in. The tax levy, the third piece, is the amount that's raised by the district after all the other sources are identified. So the tax levy was part of that pie chart. This is funded by property taxes, and it is subject to the tax cap. Annually, the district calculates the approved tax levy and comes up with warrants. Now, these warrants all need to be signed by all of the board members this evening. So as you're filing out, please make sure you see Clerk Pedro so that she can have you sign these. These are mandated and must be signed. So, of interesting to note, it is an inverse relationship in the calculation of the tax rate and the assessed value. This year, because the assessed values increased much higher than the tax rates actually are lower on average in Dutchess County for residents, approximately 23 cents per thousand lower. So depending on what your assessed value on your property looks like, you could be seeing a smaller tax bill than in previous years. And again, it's an inverse relationship in the calculation between the assessed value and the tax levy. So when we look at the assessed values, just to get an idea, remember, we've taken into account the clergy and the firefighter exemption and all exempt properties. You will see that there is growth, in the exception of LaGrange, in homestead values around the county. Pretty significant growth, if you look. So it's interesting to see between 8 and 9% growth in assessed values for residential properties. So how do we proceed? We continue to provide fiscally responsible budgets that support our learning community in Wappinger Central School District. We have solid property values right now, as you can tell by our equalization rates. We have to continue to watch those equalization rates as well, because they impact the tax cap or the tax rate. And also, we want to keep our tax levy as low as possible. This provides us with stability in our tax rates, no major increases, no major decreases, but stability as we move through the process. All of our past school tax presentations can be viewed on the website, and if you happen to go into this presentation on the website, you can click and look at each of those tax rate presentations individually. Thank you very much for your time.
Christian, for that presentation. Just one quick question. Where the exemption are for the veterans? Is that, because you only mentioned clergy, I believe, and firefighters, I believe you said.
That is not one that we add back at the district level. It's taken care of at the town.
Okay,
So
thank you.
that's not affected. But again, I just want to remind the board, please, please, please see Clerk Pedro on your way out to sign those warrants for me. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions by the board member? Marie?
Actually, it's not a question. I just want to thank Ms. Crandall for this presentation. This is something I know Trustee Odoms and I have talked about, trying to have a bigger audience for you to be able to explain some of this to. So I'm really happy that we were able to do that, and you did a great job. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing none, 6.01, consent agenda resolution. Okay, I'm sorry, you're right, 102 approval of 2001, 2002 tax rates.
Be it resolved that in accordance with Section 1307 of the Real Property Tax Law, the Board of Education on August 9th, 2021 at, what? 8:16, thank you, p.m. does hereby authorize the district clerk to certify to the chief fiscal officer of each town listed below the amount of 2021-2022 school taxes to be levied on the real property located in that portion of the school district. Be it further resolved that the Board of Education does hereby authorize the district clerk on August 9th, 2021 at 8:17 p.m. to certify to the chief fiscal officer of each town listed below the amount of town assessors' omitted school taxes to be levied on the real property located in that portion of the school district. To collect taxes in the total sum of $179,699,213 less the STAR reimbursement amount as provided by the appropriate governmental authority, in the same manner that collectors are authorized to collect town and county taxes in accordance with the provisions of Section 1318 of the Real Property Tax Law. And be it further resolved that the tax rates for each town per $1,000 of assessed value as follows, stipulated there. And be it further resolved that the Board of Education approve the 2021-2022 true value tax rate for the district at $17.82. The 2021-2022 tax collection dates are September 13th, 2021 through October 12th, 2021, regular collection, October 13th, 2021 through November 1st, 2021, 2% penalty.
Motion, Marie, second. Mike McFarland, all those in favor? Unanimous. 6.01, consent agenda resolutions.
Resolved that the Board of Education does hereby approve the following consent agenda items as stated. 2.02 as amended, 6.02, thank you. 6.02 as amended, 6.03, 6.04, 6.05, 6.06, 6.07, 6.08, and 6.09.
Motion, Marie, second. Mike McFarland, all those in favor? Unanimous. 7.01, I believe. School calendar, 21-22.
Whereas the Board of Education adopted the 2021-2022 school calendar at their meeting of March 8th, 2021, and subsequent revisions on April 27th, 2021. Whereas it has been determined that the 2021-2022 school calendar requires additional revisions. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Education does hereby amend the school calendar and adopts the 2021-2022 school calendar as revised. The following changes were made to the 2021-2022 school calendar as follows. 1. Updated legend for September to indicate 9/3 is part of the Labor Day weekend. 2, updated legend for May and June to include grade 4 science assessment. It had grade 8 only, but the grade 4 exam, which was due to expire in lieu of the new framework exams, is now being given another year. 3, updated the emergency give back days legend. April 18th is not a give back day. May 26th is the proper give back day for this calendar.
Motion? Marie, second. Peggy Killen. Discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous? 8.01, resolution to authorize the use of remaining capital project funds. Before that, the resolution read, Ms. Slashdot, could you please explain to
Yeah, read the resolution first. Yeah.
absolutely, read the
Okay.
resolution and give a brief explanation before we can vote. Thank you.
Okay. Whereas remaining funds are available from the district-wide renovations projects, the district intends to undertake additional projects per the attached additional project cost estimate summary dated August 8th, 2021, provided by Rhinebeck Architecture. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Wappinger Central School District hereby declares that the total cost of $2,160,000 as indicated shall not be exceeded.
Second. Keith, discussion? I would like you to explain to the community, to the board actually, where the $2 million in change came from.
Okay, thank you. The beginning of the resolution clearly states remaining funds. So this is monies that were originally approved by the community for our large capital project. This is excess money that we were able to save due to just better negotiation by Ron and the architects for lower bids. Any large projects, if anyone's not aware, we always factor in at least a minimum of 10% for contingency for any unforeseen circumstances. Thankfully, we did not have an enormous amount of unforeseen circumstances. So when all was said and done, this was leftover funds. So the capital committee, in its meetings and going over with Ron and with the superintendent, to allocate the balance of this money for some smaller projects that are part of the building condition survey that I had mentioned earlier. But these are projects that we can address right away, hopefully get approved and have these projects done next summer. So by the time school starts next September, these projects would be completed. Some of these are some much needed work that wasn't addressed from the original capital project, which would be the balance of the parking lot at Fishkill Plains with drainage, as well as the parking lot at Sheaf Road. Also, we have some concrete and sidewalk work that needs to be done at several of the schools. This particular school, John Jay and Myers, these are safety issues. And obviously, we've had a couple of bad winters since this since this capital bond was originally approved. So the concrete has deteriorated even more. So we want to address that before, God forbid, something serious happens. So all we're doing, so the community knows, this isn't any extra money. This is money that we saved, and we're just reallocating it.
Marie.
Just a little more on this is a couple people might notice that there's some other smaller things in a couple of the schools, lower amounts. In order to do some of these projects, we have to do both inside and outside, and that's why we try to even it out on these different projects to try and space it out and get some much needed stuff done.
Well, I'd like to thank Ron.
Also, one other thing, just to point out, and I apologize, a little stuffy with the mask. There are some smaller projects that are listed because it's very important. In order to get aid, we have to do some work in some of the buildings. So if you notice, there's some kitchen work done and some floor tiling that has to be done. That's a small amount, but in order to receive state aid, we have to do some work inside of the buildings as well. Thank you.
Mr. Spencer?
Thank you, Mr. Lumia. Just wanted to thank Director Broas and the Capital Projects Committee. It's unusual to have those larger projects completed, under budget and before they're due. And you guys not only did that, but identified some other projects that we could use excess money for. So just want to say thank you.
Again, I'd like to come express the same thing that Mr. Broas said, as well as the architects, for the due diligence and make sure that the projects were done properly and were appropriate, less money being spent. So thank you, Mr. Broas. 8.01, anybody else? All those in favor? Unanimous. 8.01, 8.02, resolution to authorize the purchase of playground equipment and surfacing through U.S. Community Contract 2017-001-134.
Whereas remaining funds are available from the 2018 district-wide renovations projects and construction work at the Myers Corners Elementary School has been performed, a new playground, including equipment, installation, and surfacing, is proposed to be installed at the school site. Now therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Wappinger Central School District hereby declares that the attached proposal, option number 4, revised from Game Time Equipment, P.O. Box 106, Spring Lake, New Jersey, is acceptable. See attached Exhibit A. Be it further resolved that the purchasing agent on behalf of the Board of Education will execute a purchase order for the amount contained in the proposal.
Motion, Marie, second. Becky, discussion?
I'd just like to say that this is a project that the board has been hoping would be done for several years, and we're delighted that we can finally help Myers Corners, which has less playground equipment per children than any of the other schools, so that the children won't have to wait to play. Thank you.
Further comments? Yes.
Yeah, I think just to make the community aware, aside from what Ms. Calland had said, that particular playground, most of the equipment is for K through 3, and we have a large enrollment of 4, 5, and 6, especially when there was the redistricting and the reconfiguration of 6th grade going out of Van Wyck and back into the elementary schools. That equipment, it just wasn't right. And again, what Ms. Calland had said, this has been a project for about 3 or 4 years, maybe close to 5 years, that we've been trying to resolve. So thankfully, again, this is with leftover money. We just had to pull this out and separate it because this was a project that needed immediate attention, and we are anticipating that the playground should be installed no later than mid-October. Thank you.
I'd like to thank Ms. Goldstein for advocating for our students for these playgrounds. She's been doing that for many, many years, and finally it came to the capital improvement, and I'm very happy that it was approved. All those in favor? Unanimous. 8.03, New York State School Board Association Annual Convention.
Resolved that the Board of Education does hereby approve Board Member Peggy Kelland and Superintendent Dr. Dwight Bonk to attend the NYSBA Annual Business Meeting at the Annual Convention and Education Expo on October 24th through 26th, 2021 in New York City, New York Hilton Midtown, 1335 6th Avenue, at a cost of $515 registration fee, member rate prior to 9/13/21, and any reimbursement for hotel, mileage travel, tolls, parking, and meals per board policy. And be it further resolved that the Board of Education does hereby appoint Peggy Kelland to serve as its voting delegate at the annual NYSBA Annual Convention and gives full discretion to Peggy Kelland on voting the intention of the board after hearing discussion and amendments on the convention floor. The final outcome on the resolutions will be posted in board docs. For more information on the convention, look on the website because there's more information there.
Motion, Marie, second. Jim Spencer, discussion. I think Ms. Peggy Kelly gave a very excellent explanation on that, so all those in favor? Unanimous. 8.04, approval to join the Lower Hudson Education Coalition.
Resolved that the Board of Education does hereby elect to join the Lower Hudson Education Coalition for the 2021-2022 school year for an annual membership fee of $925. The Lower Hudson Education Coalition's role is to provide legislative information to the member districts and to advocate and communicate with public officials on issues related to legislation and regulations. See attachment.
Motion, Marie, second. Ms. Peggy, discussion. All those in favor? Unanimous. I'm sorry.
I didn't vote for it.
Okay, 7-1. Carrie's the only one that did not
Is that a
vote.
no or an abstention?
I'm sorry?
Thank you.
Thank you. Approval of the Legislative Action Committee Charter.
Resolved that the Board of Education does hereby approve the 2021-2022 Legislative Action Committee Charter and Goals as stated.
Motion. Marie, second. Sasha, Mr. Lauer. Discussion. I just have one recommendation. I noticed that the members have to be approved by the chairman of the committee as well as superintendent. I think that's the one. Okay, make the change was changed. I don't see it.
That's the other committee.
All right.
I have a
Okay. All right. That's fine. Motion. I'll make motion.
There's just, for some clarity, under the composition, just want to change some of the language. It should be, the committee shall be composed of no more than 7 members, and then in parentheses, just to add, including student volunteers. There was some, wasn't as clear in our prior charter, just so the community knows this particular committee welcomes high school students to participate, but they do not have any, they don't have any voting rights on certain items. So we wanted to just clarify and make this a little bit more clear. So I'd like to make a motion just to amend or include in the charter, in parentheses, excluding student volunteers.
Second. All those in favor?
Who was second?
Marie Johnson.
Thank you.
All those in favor? Unanimous? Jim?
I'm sorry, I just wanted to say that we not only welcome student participants, we encourage our students to participate in the Legislative Action Committee.
All those in favor?
Okay. Resolved that the Board of Education does hereby approve the 2021-2022 Legislative Action Committee Charter and Goals as amended.
Motion, Marie, carried second. All those in favor? Unanimous. 9.01, board members may request additional agenda items, discussion items, or requests for information. Are there any additions to the agenda? Seeing none. 10.01, comments from the public. Now here's the time where the public can come up. There'll be no interaction with the board members, of course, but so you can make any comments you so wish. But please do not expect board members to comment. And again, you only have 3 minutes. Please try to be concise. Thank you.
Hi, how are you? I have a really quick question because I didn't get that from Sonia. I just didn't get a quick question before before the agenda started on 8.4. I wanted just to ask a quick question about that. Can I do that now or should I wait till the next meeting? 8.4 was.
You can do it now.
Okay, I just wanted to get some clarification on the approval for the Lower Hudson Education Coalition. I understand that you're joining for 925 and they would advocate, right? I just want to get some more clarification on what that was. And I also want to know why you voted against it. Just wanted to have some kind of information about that.
As much as I'm sorry, she can answer that. So
That's no problem. I
I
don't
appreciate
do
your
this,
comment.
that's fine. I just wanted
Thank
to
you.
know in general, so that was it. After you guys are doing next month, I believe, and the agenda and everything will be posted online, yes?
Yeah, the agenda is online about Friday before the actual meeting. It's listed online.
Okay, and just really quickly, because I have a suggestion. Everybody knows RCK is a dead zone for internet. Is there a way that you guys could be, to have some kind of like a Wi-Fi or availability, portable Wi-Fi for having access to like the internet? That was just it. That was just a suggestion, just so you can bring it around. My kids swear you guys have this on lockdown, but that was all my suggestions, so I appreciate it. Thank you.
Good evening, members of the board. My name is Chris. I'm here tonight to talk on behalf of my son. My son is type 1. He's 6 years old. diabetic, and a couple months ago we had the conversation with the school principal and the school nurse. We talked about a one-to-one aid. We talked about how that would look like in his when he goes to his first grade year of school. Most of his school's been homeschooled. His education's been homeschooled because of the current climate with COVID and everything else. So that's kind of where we are. This would be his first time going into school. But today we get the phone call and the director of special education told us that that request has been denied and he will not have one-on-one assistance in classroom. So now we're asking his teacher with 22 other kids to make sure they're all educated, developed while watching my son's diabetic needs. For me, that's an issue. And my question is, what can we do about that? How can we overturn that?
You can do me a favor, if you can leave your information with District Clerk Pedro, Assistant Superintendent Zip will be contacting you to discuss that tomorrow.
I appreciate that very much.
You're very welcome, sir.
Hi, how are you? My name is Sarah, and I'm the chapter chair of Moms for Liberty, Dutchess County, New York. If you haven't looked us up already, after receiving many emails from our members, we are a parent-led, nonpartisan organization with over 30,000 members with 89 chapters across 26 states and growing. Our membership is to empower parents to defend their parental rights at all levels of government. Over the past few years, and even more so in the last 18 months, our school boards have blurred the line between parental authority and education. Moms for Liberty is here to clear that up. Our parental rights and our constitutional rights do not end at the classroom door. Our job as parents is to be fully informed, involved, and engaged in what's going on in our kids' schools. It's our job to guide our children to be virtuous and kind. The school's job is to provide a quality education so our children are future ready. It is not the school's job to promote a certain political ideology over another, enforce a particular worldview, boast political or activist groups, or drive life-altering decisions. Parents used to be able to trust schools to educate our children in reading, writing, and arithmetic, but that trust has been broken. Our schools are more focused on social emotional learning, equity, and other critical race theory style programs. And we have allowed our children to fall behind on the basics. I will not allow that to happen anymore. We are currently requesting, reviewing, and researching all curriculums and outside consulting firms used in our schools. This is a good thing, and you should welcome it. We will be watching what is displayed, presented, promoted, and enforced on our children. We will voice any displeasure with inappropriate, divisive, politically motivated materials or policies that conflict with our parental authority. While on the subject of parental authority, I'd like to address masking with this upcoming school year. It is imperative that masking be a choice this school year. With a long summer of children being mask-free at summer camps, gathering with family and friends and in stores, with no major outbreaks among children, it is time to get back to normal and allow our children to breathe freely. Lastly, we will always approach you, this school board and superintendent, with respect for your position and a willingness to work together to build our mutual trust. I hope that you as board members and superintendent will approach Moms for Liberty with the same respect and willingness to work together. Thank you all.
Please. No applause, but possible. I know how you feel, but I think it's important that we hear from people without any applause one way or the other. Thank you.
Good evening, Carrie Delamater, Wappingers, speaking in regards to critical race theory. In the mid-1800s, a very famous speech was given during the Civil War between the North and South, and it's centered around slavery. Do you remember? Abraham Lincoln, Gettysburg Address, November 19th, 1863. 7 years ago, our fathers brought forth on this continent a new nation conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. Now we are engaged in a great civil war, testing whether that nation or any nation so conceived and so dedicated can long endure. We are met on a great battlefield of that war. We have come to dedicate a portion of that field as a final resting place for those who here gave their lives that that nation might live. It is altogether fitting and proper that we should do this. But in a larger sense, we cannot dedicate, we cannot consecrate, we cannot hollow this ground. The brave men, living and dead, who struggled here have consecrated far above our poor power to add or detract. The world will no longer remember what we say here, but it can never forget what they did here. It is for us living rather to be dedicated here to the unfinished work which they who fought here have thus far nobly advanced. It is rather for us to be here dedicated to the great task remaining before us, that from these honored dead we take increased devotion to that cause for which they gave the last full measure of devotion, that we here highly resolve that these dead shall not have died in vain, that this nation, under God, shall have a new birth of freedom, and that government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from the earth.
Good evening. My name is Pat Whalen. The colonists' decision to secede from the British Empire was not about slavery, but about taxation without representation and about tyranny. Tyranny is oppressive power, the rule or authority of a tyrant, with absolute power is vested in a single ruler. The Battle of Gettysburg was fought between July 1st and July 3rd, 1863. It was one of the bloodiest battles of the Civil War. As President Lincoln was preparing for his speech for the dedication of the cemetery in Gettysburg, he was brought back to the Declaration of Independence in 1776. And the principle stated in that document, we will conceive in liberty and the proposition that all men are created equal. President Lincoln's goal was to abolish slavery, build a new birth of freedom, and maintain a representative government of we the people, by the people, and for the people. President Lincoln fought for truth, liberty, and gave his life for those principles. These principles are written in the U.S. Constitution and in Deuteronomy 5 of the Bible. They're called the 10 Commandments. Critical race theory is just that. It's a theory. It became a movement in the 1980s, and it is a doctrine that was set up to cause division between mankind to undermine family, work, education, and what is truth and what is a lie. The so-called anti-racism program actually does discriminate on the basis of race, color, and national origin. Most of all, it violates the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment. No state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges of immunities of citizens of the United States, nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor deny to any person within its jurisdiction the equal protection of the laws. Critical race theory also violates the Civil Acts of 1964 and maybe the Voting Rights Acts of 1968.
Hi, my name is Valentina Manueli. Critical race theory got its foundation from Howard Zinn, a member of the U.S. Communist Party, who wrote about his historical view of U.S. history, one based on his own interpretation rather than the true facts of history. Black Lives Matter, Marxism, and communism are all racist at their core, godless, and full of anger and hate. The bottom line, critical race theory is hurtful and hateful, but more importantly, it is unconstitutional and needs to be removed from our colleges, schools, workplaces, churches, etc. We the people are asking you, the school board members, to take a stand for the truth. Return the bribe given to you by the federal government. Replace critical race theory with true history of our nation and the complete knowledge of the United States Constitution. On September 17th, 1787, a federal law was signed into effect, requiring everyone who was receiving federal dollars to take that day, September 17th, to read, study, and teach the U.S. Constitution at their workplace or school. By knowing their rights, the people will be able to perceive when they are violated and be better prepared to defend and assert them. If this law was upheld, we would not be in this place today. Know the United States Constitution. We, the people of the United States of America, are telling you now what we believe. Thank you.
is public concerns from we the people to the Dutchess County School Boards. Who decides our health? For the past 18 plus months, we the people have listened to the leftist CDC, Center for Disease Control, NIH, National Institutes of Health, and executive orders from state governors and the Biden regime. Then President Trump and family got sick with COVID. The president had been on small amounts of hydroxychloroquine. While in the hospital, he continued to work for we the people, and within days, he was feeling better. Some doctors gave us advice on how to help our own immune system by taking vitamin C and D and zinc. Many frontline doctors who were treating their patients with COVID were using hydroxychloroquine, ivermectin, and remdesivir, having great success in patient recovery. Suddenly, our governors gave executive orders saying you cannot purchase, subscribe, or use the above medications for COVID-19 recovery. Why? What good reason would there be to withhold treatment from we the people by not allowing the doctors to treat their patients, nor pharmacies to disperse such simple, well-proven treatments? These are criminal acts of humanity. The bottom line, today, if you are filled with fear, you are believing a lie, do your research, homework, look for the truth. If you hear someone talking about the opposite narrative of the mainstream media, pay close attention. Because if it's true, it will be removed by big tech, censorship. There are many honest people who work hard to get the truth out so that we can correctly think through what is happening and ask why. We the people are asking you, the school board members, to take a stand for truth. I would like to believe that all of you can see through the continual lies and evil that has been forced upon us this year. Regardless of what the teachers' unions and the U.S. Board of Education demand, will you be determined to do what is right and good for our schools, our children, our families, our communities, our freedoms, and even for yourselves? We live in the best, most productive nation in the world, even with all our faults. Communism is in the White House today. Thank you, board.
My name is Eve Schnell. I'm with Moms for Liberty, Dutchess County, New York. Ask yourself, why is mask wearing being mandated? Dr. Teresa Deischer, a chief scientist in molecular and cellular physiology from Stanford University, did an in-depth study of wearing a face mask. The findings were that 87% of new COVID-19 cases in the US were of people who were always wearing a mask. Masks increase your risk of getting infected by about 12-fold. Masks will not protect anyone from viruses, especially COVID-19. The physiological effects included hypoxemia, shortness of breath, decline in pH levels, acidosis, toxicity, inflammation, self-contamination, an increase in the stress hormone levels, increased muscle tension, and immunosuppression. Some of the psychological effects included activation of the fight or flight stress response, chronic stress condition, mood disturbances, insomnia, fatigue, and compromised cognitive performance. Some of the health consequences included increased predisposition for viral and infection illnesses, headaches, anxiety, depression, hypertension, cardiovascular disease, cancer, lung disease, diabetes, Alzheimer's disease, accelerated aging process, health deterioration, and premature mortality. Wearing face masks also dehumanized social connections, which is a human basic need. The bottom line is there is nothing good about wearing a mask. The above studies prove this. Ask yourself, if there is nothing good about wearing a mask, then why is our government demanding such? We the people are asking you, the school board members, to take a stand for truth. Do not allow the dehumanization of our children and continue to fill them with fear.
Do not require the teachers to wear a mask. These children need to see the beautiful faces of their teachers. Thank you.
Good evening, board. My name is Mike Whalen. Vaccine versus shots, truth versus lie. Of all the items we have spoke about this evening, this is the most dangerous. We, the people, the nation, and our Constitution, but God. It has been over and over again, healthy children, young people, teens, young adults do not need to be concerned about the so-called COVID-19. For them, it would be like getting a regular cold. They would be able to fight it off with their own immune system, created by God, by the way. They would then have the antibodies in their system just like God planned it. Some local parents have been doing research looking for kids who have been vaccinated versus under-vaccinated. Their studies are showing that those who have no vaccines are much healthier than those who have 50-plus vaccines, and they aren't even adults. I checked the CDC guidelines for vaccine requirements in children for 2021. Children from 6 months to 18 months will receive 30 shots. 4 to 6 years, 6 shots. 11 to 12 years, 5 shots. 16 to 18 years, 3 shots. Starting at 6 months of age, they want to give our child a flu shot in 2 doses every year to 18. If you add this up, our kids have received at least 62 shots. Now they want to add a COVID-19 shot, make it mandatory for all. Facts of COVID-19. There are no specific pathogen versus virus for COVID-19. This is the first mRNA vaccine with nanotechnology. Some ingredients in the shot. COVID-19. Recombinant DNA, genetic reconstruction of molecular cloning to create sequences that would not otherwise be found in the genome. MRC5, Medical Research Council Strain 5, is a diploid human cell culture line developed from research using lung tissue of a 14-week-old aborted Caucasian male fetus baby. Graphene oxide, which is a poison, has been researched by many concerned doctors who agree with this finding. It is called graphene lipoid nanotechnology. This shot is experimental human drug trial to test the gene therapy. The bottom line, COVID-19 is a political disease and not an emergency. We the people are asking you, the school board members, to take a stand for truth based on the little information given here. And there is so much more. Please do not require teachers, students to get the shot. Thank you.
To Dr. Bonk. I'm Barbara Helm from Poughkeepsie. To Dr. Bonk, the school board members of Wappinger School District, thank you for patiently listening to our concerns. I encourage each one of you to take time to listen. I have a DVD here on the U.S. Constitution. I think you will be surprised by what is said. You may want to listen to it a few times. I certainly have. Also, I am going to give you a sheet of paper with this DVD, and there's going to be 2 short clips that you will find very informative in regard to what has been spoken previously. If we continue on this path, we surely will lose America, the land of the free. Thank you. 2 quotes. Thomas Jefferson. There is no justice for taking away individual freedom in the guise of public safety. Calvin Coolidge, 1924. To live under the American Constitution is the greatest political privilege that was ever accorded to the human race. The more I study the Constitution,
the more I realize that no other document devised by the hand of man has brought so much progress and happiness to our community. I encourage you, as the board, to replace the critical race theory and replace it with the Constitution, so the people will know when their rights are being violated. And we will live and have an America that we have had. Hopefully, we will continue to have it. And may I come up and hand out this to you? There's nothing wrong with it.
I might suggest that you leave it with any information for either myself and the board, if you leave it with the district clerk.
Well, I'd like to hand this out to you personally, so I'll wait until the end. Is that okay?
That's fine. Sure.
Terrific. Oh, sorry. I was so excited about handing this out to you.
You know what, miss? You're already up here. You might as well just hand it out.
Marie Johnson. Hey. James Spencer. Thank you.
It's very hard to follow something like that, but I'm going to try. My name is Krista Panelat. I'm a Village of Wappingers resident. The CDC is an organization who makes suggestions on our health by creating guidelines, not laws. But who is vetting them? Their own website is quietly peppered with truths like the excipient summary, which lists the ingredients of every vaccine, including COVID. We're talking formaldehyde, fetal bovine serum, and human diploid cells in formulas dating as far back as 2009. 94% of COVID deaths were proven to have comorbid conditions. Scientists in 7 universities can't get an isolated sample of COVID from the CDC. PCR tests now reported as faulty by both the CDC and the FDA. Dr. Michael Osterholm told CNN certain face masks aren't very effective, and we've seen Fauci's mask hokey-pokey, but where's the data? Where are the scientific theories? That being said, until there is proof of masks working and even the experimental inoculation, we need to omit them completely. 721, Johns Hopkins did a study of almost 50,000 children diagnosed with COVID under the age of 18. They found no COVID deaths among healthy kids, 0. In fact, the C-SPAN Senate hearing just the day before garnered no response from Dr. Lewinsky when asked how many children under the age of 18 without a pre-existing condition or significant health condition have died from COVID-19 in this country. Children'sHealthDefense.org noted the CDC, NIH, and the FDA own many vaccines and patents. So whose interests do they really have in mind? Children thrive on being with their peers. It's how they connect with the world around them, build their character, develop self-esteem, and nurture their mental health. There are countless peer-reviewed journals on this subject specifically. Masks remove unique qualities given to us by God Almighty, such as dignity and collective individuality. It suffocates socialization. The option of masking for summer school with strategically worded foreshadowing for the new school year is insulting. Let's not forget the masking of education, where curriculum promotes the disfiguring of inequities and encourages the confusion of innate gender characteristics.
I will not allow my children to merely exist in a regime that's being forced on them under the guise of public health. Let's face the facts, this has never been about a virus. It has been about dirty politics, money, and control. To this point, our unity and strength within the community is clearly the kryptonite in the path of those in authoritative positions due to the constant tantrums in answer to our movement. Deep respect to all the parents refusing to stand for what the government is trying to peddle. We are not few, we are many, and we are far from done. God said, be not afraid, and may He bless you all.
I'm a resident of Stormville. I have a 6-year-old, a 4-year-old, and a 16-month-old that resides within the Wappinger School District. My son will be attending the first grade at Gatehead, and before I actually go into why I originally came up here, I just had a simple question, one for Mr. Lumiere. I apologize, and one for Dr. Bonk. Mr. Lumiere, you asked about the comments on the agenda before, right? This meeting in itself, you were asking about it in itself. That was the agenda that you just presented before us about the taxes and all that. This is my first meeting, so I'm just trying to clarify and trying to understand it. Am I correct? Okay. Dr. Bonk, in any way, shape, or form, because I reside on a bunch of professional society as a chair, do you ask the people that you're presenting to comment on the presentation before it's given? Because I don't. And on most municipalities that I've served on, it's usually the item is presented, there's a public comment, and then you vote on it. How am I supposed, even if I have the agenda in front of me, how am I supposed to know what you're going to say, what you're going to say, what you're going to say? So I highly recommend that you maybe restructure it, even though somebody might actually read the agenda and the accessibility, even if it was posted last Friday. Really, nobody can comment on it appropriately, and we're all smart parents here. We're all over here. It's 9 o'clock at night. We got kids. I mean, you might as well at least post it up. And you can post it up there. You post the tax stuff. We sat here for 30 minutes. It's just common things. Very simple things. I'm not here with an agenda or reading out. I'm just simple observation over the last 2 hours. That's a word of advice. Sincere word of advice. So the first reason I'm up here is I got a 1-year-old who you just made the comment actually during the meeting that you're getting stuffy because of your mask. How's a first grader supposed to feel about that in 98-degree weather? Because my wife, who's home with the 3 children, is scared. Is my son going to be wearing a mask this summer? I mean, this school year. It's a very simple thing. Quiet? Silence? Is it going to be up for an item of discussion?
I believe I indicated that within the next week to 10 days, we would have.
School's starting in 3-4 weeks.
School starting in 1 month. And we need to find out from the Department of Health and the State Education Department.
Stop gaslighting all of us.
I'd like to make a comment, please. This is not it's an open discussion. This is not a board meeting in public, not a public meeting. So please make your comments possible, and please be courteous. I've asked you people not to clap. I respect everybody's opinion, but it's important. It's important. Excuse me. It's important. It's important that we have some type of civility. That's all. So please continue your statement, please.
So in 2 weeks, I should be able to find out if my son's going to wear a mask or not, basically, or within the next couple of
I
weeks.
believe I indicated within the next week to 10 days, we would have some notification of that out to the public.
Well, I really hope it's optional and that there's a sign-off waiver for parents, like what you did last year. Because it should be a parental choice, as it is right now for each and every one of you. Thank you.
Dr. Bonk, I just want to ask you, you said you were going to refer to the CDC in a couple of weeks and then we would know. In April, at the end of April, actually, the CDC flip-flopped a little bit and said that masks were proven to not be effective at protecting against COVID. And now they've totally changed that around.
What I indicated is that we would be looking for further guidance from the Dutchess County Department of Behavioral and Community Health, as well as the New York State Education Department. We hope to obtain that within the next week or so. Within the next week to 10 days, we would notify the community as to how we were going to move forward. That is what I stated in my opening remarks, and that is our plan at this point.
Okay, I'm just stating what the CDC has on their website. In April 27th, 21.
I
I did not say the CDC.
I thought you referred to the CDC. If you didn't, I'm sorry. I'm just letting you know that they did flip-flop, and I'm sorry about that. But I just want to let you all know, there are two concerns on parents' minds right now. Two, okay? Masks need to be optional. Vaccines need to be optional. That's it. You can make everybody happy. You guys are in the position where you could do this. That's it. You need to make them optional for kids. We don't want to hear anything else. It needs to be optional because in April, masks were proven to not be effective. And now all of a sudden, masks are wonderful all over again. They're saving everybody. Guess what's going to happen in December? Masks are going to be no longer proven effective. It's enough flip-flopping and our kids paying the price. It's wrong. And parents are tired of it, and you guys are in a position to help us. Tell us what you need from us. We'll help you. You help us. We all want the same things. We don't want vaccines being mandated, and we don't want our kids wearing masks in school. We don't. And for those who do, go right ahead. Wear a mask. Get a vaccine. But please don't expect everybody else in this community to do that, or in this state, or in this country. Because if this was about health, the borders would be shut down right now. 800 kids came across the border on Thursday. 800 kids alone came across the border on Thursday alone. Unvaccinated, untested. So how is this about health? How is this about safety? Our kids are going to pay the price? Our American citizen children pay the price? I don't think so. It's not going to happen. Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you for continuing to allow public comment. It's greatly appreciated. My name is Liz Zich. My family owns and operates a business on the... My name is Liz Zich. My family owns and operates a business on Route 9, the 1500 block of Route 9 in Wappingers Falls. I am here with the Moms for Liberty of Dutchess County. As we saw earlier this year, the CDC guidance has been influenced by the AFT. We also saw when the New York State Department of Health, Dr. Zucker, the Commissioner of Health, issued a statement making masks optional. What did we see? We saw NICET immediately put out a statement that said they did not agree, even though it's written in the emergency guidance that what the New York State Department of Health says supersedes what the New York State Department of Education may or may not say. Betty Rosa also came out and said she did not agree with what the New York State Department of Health had issued. Now we have New York State saying, no, the emergency is done. We are not going to issue guidance. And here we have Betty Rosa of the New York State Department of Education saying, oh, wait, New York State can't, kind of slide away and not give us guidance. Well, when they do give Betty Rosa guidance, she disagrees with it and acts accordingly. So it's ridiculous that, that this happens. So I believe COVID is real. I believe in science. Now let's talk about the actual science just for a moment. If we look at the actual numbers that the American Academy of Pediatrics put out, the mortality rates, pediatric mortality rates are between 0.00% and 0.03%. That's not my opinion. Those are the facts. Yes, the Delta variant is more transmissible. However, like a lot of viruses that mutate, they're more transmissible, yet not as deadly. And thankfully, this Delta variant is proving to be not deadly for children. It is not killing children. Now, I spoke with the coordinator of communicable disease and community preparedness of the Dutchess County Department of Behavioral and Community Health. I know you meet with him on Wednesdays. I know he's in your superintendent's meeting. I speak with him often. And he backed this up. The Delta variant, we are not seeing huge numbers of dead children from this variant. Basically, we need to stop being led by fear. We, the people, have had enough with the fear mongering. We need to start looking at the numbers, looking at the science, and using common sense. Stop being led by fear. Thank you.
I'd like to make a motion to extend the meeting, now 10 minutes.
Well, I make a motion to extend the meeting.
5 minutes, five more minutes. Please, be concise.
Make
if
it
you
6
can.
minutes,
Thank you.
since it's 3 minutes each.
3
Make it
minutes.
6 minutes.
6 minutes.
This is 2 people
Thank you.
up.
Hi, my name is Francine Wiley. I did not plan on coming up here. I planned only to offer support by being here. But I had to come up because what I observed were a couple of things that I felt were unnecessarily obstructive, particularly the agenda. You made a point of the agenda. You could have had copies of the agenda. This is a dead zone. Nobody can go online to look at the agenda. You could have had it projected up there. You could have cooperated with us to provide that information, very simply, a list of the agendas so that we can be on the same page. So that's the first thing that I noticed. That would have been very, that would have created more goodwill here, that we see that you are trying to help us understand what your rules are. So that's the first thing. The second thing is there is so much scientific information that there is, at the very least, enough justification to question the vaccine that has been developed in 1 or 2 years. Arguably, it's been worked on prior to the mystery COVID that erupted. But by Versus own numbers, and I wish I had them, this vaccine is more deadly in 6 months than other drugs for 31 years that Versus been in operation. And we are relying on our board members who represent us to represent us. We have concerns for our kids. We need to move on. We need to live. We have children that we want to prepare for the future, and hopefully that's what you want too. If you don't, then leave. Get out of that position and let someone else take the position who does care and can demonstrate that. So please keep that in mind. Do your research. I have read, and I'm sure others have too, of children who died from the vaccine. I read the other day, there's a woman who has both her legs amputated. Okay, hold on. I gotta read this. Okay. All right, 12,366 deaths, 46,036 hospitalizations, 68,040 urgent care visits, 4,759 cases of anaphylaxis, 4,404 cases of Bell's palsy. That's not including from the shot. That's not including Guerre, I'm not pronouncing her, Guerre. Thank you. All right, which has been a rare disease, they keep saying, but very predominant among the vaccinated. These information is being ignored. Oh, the woman had her legs amputated, and now she's waiting for her arms to be amputated because blood clots prevented the blood from reaching her extremities. We're not just arguing for no vaccines and no masks. We're arguing for the health and future of our children. We don't want to risk them for the political du jour. Biden will go, someone else will come, this will pass, but in the meantime, we have to take care of ourselves, and that means you too. You need to take care of us because we're part of the community, we're part of your future, and we need you to start looking at it that way, and if you can't, step aside.
Suzanne Laval, I'm from Fishkill. You knew well enough that the community was going to be here and what their concerns were well enough to invite the sheriff's office to come here. So you knew what the community was coming here for. Why don't you put what the community wants on the agenda? Then you don't have to shake the finger at them and tell them what they're not allowed to speak about. Why aren't you speaking about what they want spoken to? I read today on the NYSBA website that there are 5,300 Board of Education school board members in New York State, and that represents approximately 50% of the elected officials in this state. So why do the school boards wait for the other 50% of the elected officials to determine what they're going to tell this 50% of elected officials to do with our students? You have the power to make the decisions and push up to Albany. You should stop waiting for Albany to push them down. Thank you.
Seeing no other comments, I make a motion to adjourn. All in favor? Unanimous. Second, we've got the second carry, second, all those in favor? Unanimous, thank you.